All right, welcome to our fourth discussion on front-end web development. We'll be talking about JavaScript, how JavaScript is used on the web to affect the behavior and interactions of the document. So what are the things we'll cover today? We'll discuss the JavaScript Basics as well as JavaScript Object Model, the browser object model, the document object model, and their methods. We'll also look at how we can write JavaScript on the console or in a script, as well as a few examples of how JavaScript is used in web development. Let's dive right in. All right. JavaScript basically is also known as ECMAScript 262. It is a programming language, an actual programming language which is versatile and dynamic, but it works alongside HTML and CSS to be able to make our pages pop out interactively. Without CSS, it should work just fine, but just like the skeleton that is moving, it is going to be not very presentable. So we need the content. We also need the style to be able to make it beautiful. JavaScript is actually a scripting language, so it has sequence of instructions that don't need to be compiled. All right, but it also is object-oriented. It can create and modify objects, and it's driven by events. These events help us to modify the page's content, the style, or the behavior. Let's talk about how we can incorporate JavaScript into our document. Just like CSS, you can write JavaScript inside the line of code, and it's going to run at that location. Or you can write it internally in the head section of the document, and it's going to run before the page loads up. Alternatively, the preferred method is writing it in a separate .js file so that we have separation of concerns. Whichever way you do it, it's up to your requirements. JavaScript objects actually represent real-world physical things, just like the elements in the DOM, the document object model. We can have multiple instances of these objects. One could be static, another could be moving, the other is dancing. All of these objects have properties, also known as attributes or characteristics. Each of the properties has a name and a value. For instance, a car could be red, the house could be story building with 10 rooms, and so on and so forth. Each of these objects also has methods. The methods are actually the things that can be done. You can get or set these methods, you can get or set the properties with the methods. But in order for the methods to be done, you need something to trigger it, which are now events that are triggered by the user. Browsers actually also have an object model. A browser is made up of documents, the screen, navigation, location history, which are all properties. And these properties have different methods like writing on the document, opening a new navigator, checking out the URL of a location, or going back and forth within the history. So normally when the HTML document is received by the browser, it creates that model, which is known as the document object model. Each of these HTML elements represents an object which has these attributes like the ID, the class, the style, that can be modified using getElement, setAttribute, getAttribute, and so on and so forth. The events that help us to be able to start these are the clicking events, the loading events, and so on. Some of the times you could actually see JavaScript in use would include when you hover over a mouse, when you hover over a button or a link, it changes, or when you focus on an image, it pops out. When you click on a slideshow, it changes, and so on. When you also enter documents or enter values in a form that need to be validated, or dynamically create content. For back-end methods, we're going to approach those in a separate program. To recap, JavaScript basically is another programming language which doesn't need to compile. We write it in an HTML document. It also has the JavaScript object model, browser object model, and DOM. We've looked at some examples, including single-page applications that are very useful, or use cases of JavaScript. Some resources out there for you. You could go to javascript.info or check out Mozilla Developer Networks for some reference information, and also review the libraries like jQuery, React, and the frameworks like Angular and Svelte, which are very useful to extend your knowledge of JavaScript. Thank you for watching this video. Kindly like and share with others. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more videos. This is Vitus DK. You already know.